Okay, good afternoon. The second packet yesterday was kind of a joke. You didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot. But now you're going to complete the process of getting these two answers down here. And we'll put them right here. Okay, so again, we had x equals 2 times y plus negative 5, and then 2 times x plus negative 1y equals 11. Okay, now this is the equation that had a variable, one of the letters that was isolated, meaning all by itself. This one right here. So that's what I call my base equation. And then I write the other equation over here. Just simply copy it, take it from here to here. And then if the x is inside the circle, you replace the x with a blank parentheses, and I make it a little bit longer so I'm able to fit 2i plus negative 5. Okay, so now I go through the process of solving this. Okay. So I'm going to solve for y first in this. Sometimes you solve for x first, sometimes you solve for y first. Okay, it's not the same every problem. Okay, so do your rainbow multiplication. So I take 2 times 2, which is 4 with a y, plus, and then I take 2 times negative 5, which is negative 10. Now stop there. Now that you have these two things, you can cross out the parentheses and the number outside of it. Before you write equals, though, you have plus negative 1y equals 11. Okay? All right, now here's my equals. So these y's are on the same side. Okay? So then I just make a pyramid. That's supposed to be what that looks like. And it's an adding pyramid. That just says I add 4y plus negative 1y. So 4 plus negative 1 is 3. So I write 3y down. And then I cross the y's out. But before I write equals, I do have this negative 10 here. Okay, now that this is our only y now, we can dot it and circle it. And then negative 10, I would plus 10 to both sides. And 3 dot y, 11 plus 10 is 21. Okay, now I can go ahead and divide. So y equals 7. Now what letter is that? Simple question. What letter is that? It's a y, so you put 7 as your second answer. Okay, this is x, this is y. Sorry about my crappy writing. Now to find x, here's what you do. You go inside the little bubble, because x was equal to 2 times y plus negative 5. Well, now that I actually have an answer for y, 7, we go inside the bubble, scribble out the y, and put a 7. Okay? And now x equals 2 times 7 plus negative 5. So all I do is go 2 times 7 plus negative 5, okay? And that'll tell me what x equals, 9. Okay, my next problem. So again, 3x plus negative 4y equals negative 16, and then x equals 4 times y plus negative 40. Now this was the equation here that had a letter by itself, x, okay? So that's called my base. And I write down the other equation, 3x plus negative 4y equals negative 16. I just take that from here to here. Now we had the x by itself, so we will replace the x with a parentheses. And then I make a wider parentheses, and I put 4y plus negative 40. Okay, that's what that says. Okay, we can solve for y first. So I'm going to find this answer first. So I do my rainbows. So I take 3 times 4y. That would be 12 with a y. And then I take 3 times negative 40, and that's negative 120. Okay, now that we have these two things, we can cross out the parentheses and the outside multiplier. So before I write equals, though, I have a plus negative 4y and then equals negative 16. Okay? All right, so these y's are on the same side of the equals. So again, we just add them together. So I take 12 plus negative 4. That's 8. Okay, 12 plus negative 4 would be negative 8y. Cross those out. Now before you write equals, you have a plus negative 120. And then equals negative 16. Okay, so now that I can dot the only y that I have a negative 120, so if it's negative, you want to plus it. So plus 120, because negative, positive, and then plus 120. So I have negative 8 dot y, equals, and I take negative 16 plus 120, and that's 104. Okay, and now we can go ahead and divide by negative 8. Okay, so I divide 104 by negative 8, and that's negative 13. That's your y. So that goes down here. This is x. Now, again, take negative 13, because look at your base equation, go inside the bubble, and replace the y with the answer you got, negative 13. Now, so x equals 4 times negative 13 minus 40, okay? 4 times negative 13 minus plus negative 40, sorry. So I'm going to times those two, and then I plus negative 40, okay? I got negative 92. Wait a second here. I screwed this up. That 12 plus negative 4 is positive 8, okay? So positive 8. So all that does is make my 13 positive. Okay, I screwed that up. Sorry about that. So I take 4 times 13 plus negative 40. I got 12. Okay, sorry about that mess up. Okay, next one, x equals 6 plus negative 4 times y. Okay, so this is my base, so I write the other equation. I take x out, and because that's what we have in the box, and I replace that with an empty parentheses, and then I widen it so that I'm able to fit what x equals, 6 plus negative 4y. Okay, so we can solve for y. So rainbows, 2 times 6 is 12, plus, and 2 times negative 4 is negative 8 with y. Now we can cross these two things out, but before I have equals, I have plus negative 3y equals 1, okay? All right, so here's my equals. Now you got two letters, okay? So they're on the same side, so I make the little adding pyramid. And I add those, negative 8 plus negative 3. Negative 8 plus negative 3 is negative 11y. Okay, now before I write equals, so I have to remember to plus 12 and then equals 1, okay? Again, I added these two. And before I did equals, I still had the 12 equals 1. Now I dot my y and circle it. So opposite of plus 12 is minus 12. So negative 11 dot y equals now, and 1 minus 12 is negative 11, okay? And now I can go ahead and divide. So that's 1. Y equals 1, okay? The letter is y, it equals 1. Okay, now to find what x equals, we can go into the bubble, and now that I have an answer for y, we replace y with 1. So 6 plus negative 4 times 1 should be 2. It is. Okay, next one. 4 times x plus 3 times y equals 0. y equals negative 2 times x plus negative 2. So this is my base equation to go off of, so because it has a letter by itself, and so I write down the other equation. 4 times x plus 3 times y equals 0. Now this time we had the y in the box, okay? So now I have circled y and replaced it, okay, with the parentheses, and I put what y is equal to, negative 2x plus negative 2. Okay, so now I'll be solving for x first, because that's the letter I have, okay? So do your rainbows. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 with x. And 3 times negative 2 would be negative 6 without x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6x. And 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Now cross that parentheses and the outside multiplying number. Before I write equals, I need to add 4x and then equals 0. Okay, so here are my two x's. They're two letters. They're on the same side of the equation, same letter. So I make the adding pyramid. So I add negative 6 plus 4. Negative 6 plus 4. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2x. Cross those out. And we also need to add a negative 6 before I write equals. So now I can dot the only x that I have. Negative 6, so plus 6. Plus 6, so negative 2 dot x equals 6. And now I can divide by negative 2. So 6 divided by negative 2, by the way, the letter's x. So 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. So we want to put that here because that's the letter x, x, y. Now to find y, you do the same thing. Go into your bubble. Y equals negative 2 times x plus negative 2. But if I know x is negative 3, replace that x in the bubble with negative 3. So now I have negative 2 times negative 3 plus negative 2. Okay, I got 4. Okay, next one. 1x plus 2y equals negative 4. And then y equals 1 times x plus negative 5. So this is your base equation. So I write down the other equation. 1 times x plus 2 times y equals negative 4. Okay, and then we had the y in the box, so I replaced the y with a blank parentheses, and I put 1x plus negative 5 into that parentheses. Okay, so I'm solving for, the letter I have is x, okay, so I'll be finding this answer first. 2 times 1 is 2 with x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10 without x, and then cross that out. Before we write equals, we have a 1x equals negative 4. Okay, my two letters, the two x, two of the same letter on the same side, so we want to add. 3 plus 1, 2 plus 1 is 3, so that would give me 3x. Now before I go equals, I got to add the negative 10 equals negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to dot my 3, circle it. Negative 10 would be plus 10. So I have 3 dot x, and it's not 14, it's negative 4 plus 10, which is 6. And now divide by 3, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, now go into your bubble. Y is equal to 1 times x plus negative 5, but if I know that x is 2, again, you can scribble it out. You can also put a parentheses around it and put a 2 over it. Okay, that's another way. So you can go 1 parentheses 2 plus negative 5, or 1 times 2 plus negative 5. It's the same thing. I got negative 3. Okay, next one. X equals 1y plus 9. That is the base equation because it has a letter by itself. And then my other equation, 5x plus negative 3y equals 7. Okay, now we had the x in the box, so I circle that. Plus negative 3y equals 7. X gets replaced, and in that we put what x is equal to, 1y plus 9. So now the letter is y, so I'm going to find this answer first. So I take 5 times 1 and 5 times 9. 5 times 1, y, and 5 times 9. That's 5 with y. That's 45. Before we have equals, we have plus negative 3y, and then equals 7. Okay, so here's my equals. Again, the letters are on the same side, so I want to connect those and make the adding pyramid. 5 plus negative 3, that would be 2y. And before equals, I have plus 45 still, equals 7. And now I can dot my singular y, minus 45, minus 45. So 2 dot y equals 7 minus 45 is negative 38, and then I can divide both sides by 2. Okay, negative 38 divided by 2 is negative 19, so that's my first answer. Okay, now I go into the bubble, because to find x, look at your base equation. Either scribble out the y or put a parentheses around it, and we just put a negative 19. It's like the y's out and negative 19's in. Okay? So I take 1 times negative 19 plus 9, negative 10. Okay, next page. 3x plus 3 times x plus 3 times y equals negative 18, and then just y is equal to 4 times x plus 14. So this is my base equation because it's got a letter by itself. And what's that letter equal to? 4 times x plus 14. So I write down the other equation. It was the y that we had isolated, so we want to replace the y. And in its place, we'll put 4x plus 14. Okay, so I didn't put that. There it is. Okay, right there. Okay, so draw your rainbows. So 3 times 4x is 12 with x. And 3 times 14 is 42. Okay, as soon as you write those two things, cross out that. Before you have equals, you still have a 3x that needs to be added, equals negative 18. Okay, here's my equals, and the x's are on the same side, so let's connect them and with adding. So 12 plus 3 is 15 with x. And before I have equals, I have a 42 added to 15x, and then equals negative 18. Okay, so here's the only x I have. We need to get rid of the plus 42 by minusing. So I have 15.x, and then I can write equals because there's nothing else there. Negative 18 minus 42 is negative 60. Okay, and now I can divide by 15. So negative 60 divided by 15 is negative, and by the way, it's the x, so I circle that because that's where I put that answer. Now I can solve for y. Okay, so parenthesize your x, and inside we're going to put a negative 4. Negative 4. Okay, that's what I put there. Okay, so I've got 4. A parentheses with negative 4 because the letter's not there anymore, and then plus 14 gives me negative 2. Okay, then my last one, 5x plus negative 1y equals 22. the y, and then replace that with what it is equal to, with its equal. And I'll be solving for x first, so it would be smart to circle that, because that's the letter I have. So I take negative 1 times 4, that's negative 4. And I take negative 1 times negative 3, that's 3 with x. Okay, before I have equals, I need to add a 5x, and then equals 22. Okay, now your x's are on the same side, so we add, and positive 3 plus 5 is 8x. But before I write equals, I do have a negative 4 still. Okay, so I want to dot my x, circle it, and then I add 4. And 8 dot x equals 26, and then divide both sides by 8. 26 divided by 8 is 3.25, so that's your x, 3.25. Okay, so I go into my bubble, solve for y, we just get rid of this x, and I'm going to put 3.25, okay? So I have 4 plus negative 3, parentheses, but don't put x, we're going to put 3.25, that's negative 5.75. Okay, pause that and do the most important thing to complete is this packet here, okay? Okay, now in the other packet you're not going to solve. Now you're going to set this up yourself, okay? So I've got two equations, 1 times x plus 2 times y equals negative 4, and then y equals 1x plus negative 5. First thing we need to do is determine a base equation. Now, to be called a base equation, the equation has to have an x or a y by itself. The x and y are not by themselves. There's other crap with them on that side. Here, the y is by itself. So this is the base. And then I want to put a box around the y and then circle the other one. Okay. Now, write the other equation, the equation that's not a base. 1x plus 2y equals negative 4. Now, I got to circle the correct letter. Sometimes it's x, sometimes it's y. Now, in this instance, y is in the box by itself. So if that is what we have in the box, we want to circle the y. And then copy everything down, but replace y with a blank parentheses. Now make your parentheses wider. Same thing, just widen it. Okay, that's all I need you to do. Next one. Here are my equals. There's my one letter. That is my base. Okay. It can get a box, and the other side is circled. Now write the other equation. 5x plus negative 3y equals 7. Now what's the letter we have in the box this time by itself? X. So we want to circle the x. So 5, make a blank parentheses, plus negative 3y equals 7, because this is what changes. Now extend your parentheses and widen it. And now it's set up. You don't have to go past there. Okay, 3 times x plus 3 times y equals negative 18. Again, there's no way x has a 3, y has a 3. Okay, the y doesn't have anything, so that's where we can call our base equation. Box and circle. Now write the other equation, the equation that's not the base. 3x plus 3y equals negative 18. Okay. So y is in the box this time, so we circle the y. So 3x plus 3 blank parentheses equals negative 18. That's what we replace. And I need to extend that so I'm able to fit the whole expression in there, okay? I don't need you to fill that in. You just fill it in with this and go from where there. But okay, next one. Well, y doesn't have anything, so this equation can be my base. Okay, now copy the other one down. 5x plus negative 1y equals 22. Okay, so it's the y that's in the box, so we replace this y, okay? Everything else stays the same, but that is an empty parentheses with 22. Now, widen that parentheses, needs to be a bit wider. So if I had to solve it, I could fit that in there. Okay, my next one. X has nothing with it, box it and bubble it, and then write the other equation. So 2x plus negative 3y equals 1. Okay, this time we have the x by itself, so I circle the x. I will be replacing that, so 2 parentheses plus negative 3y equals 1. Now widen your parentheses. And in that parentheses, I would put this in, and I would be solving for y first. You have to do it the way I'm showing you, otherwise you're going to get really confused. Well, those two have letters and numbers in front. This one does not, so this works as the base. Okay. Okay, so I write the top one. I write the other equation, 4x plus 3y equals 0. And since y is in the box, we replace the y. So 4x plus 3 equals 0. 4x plus 3, widen that parentheses, equals 0. Okay? You don't really need a calculator on this one. Okay? All right, my next one. Okay, x doesn't have anything in front, so this works as the base. It's the only thing on this side of the equals, so I box it, go to the other side, and bubble it. All right, so write your other equation, 2x plus negative 1y equals 11, okay? So it's x in the box, so x is what I replace, because that's what. And then 2 empty parentheses plus negative 1y equals 11. Now widen that parentheses. Okay. All right, next one. Well, that has a 3, that has a 4. This doesn't have anything, so the base equation's down here. Okay, so I write the other equation, 3x plus negative 4y equals negative 16. By the way, base, I mean starting, okay? X is in the box, so it's the x I replace. Everything else stays the same, but the x turns into a blank parentheses. And now widen it. And then you're good. That should be set up to go tomorrow if you know what you're doing.